Let me begin by reading a few lines from the talks of Swami Pavitrananda. Everything in the universe is struggling to complete a circle, to return to its source, to return to its only real source, that means Atman. The search for happiness is a struggle to find the balance, to restore the equilibrium. Morality is the struggle of the bound will to get free, and is the proof that we have come from perfection. The idea of duty is the midday sun of misery, scorching the very soul. O King, drink this one drop of nectar and be happy. That nectar is the idea, I am not the doer. Let there be action without reaction. Action is pleasant, but all reaction is misery, or all misery comes from reaction. The child puts his hand in the flame, that is pleasure. But when its system reacts, then comes the pain of burning. When we can stop that reaction, then we have nothing to fear. Control the brain and do not let it read the record. Be the witness and do not react. Only thus can you be happy. The happiest moments we have, the happiest moments we ever know are when we entirely forget ourselves. Work of your own free will, not from duty. We have no duty. The world is just a gymnasium in which we play. Our life is an eternal play. The whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Never fear what will become of you. Depend on no one. Only the moment you have rejected all help are you free. The full sponge can absorb no more. The subject of our talk this morning is how to determine our duty. When we raise this question, at once there come many subtleties of discussion. There are certain things which we like to discuss as an intellectual pastime, simply to have the joy of discussing. Not that those problems affect us seriously or we think too seriously. At least when we discuss, we do not think too seriously. As for instance, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is duty, and so on. We want to discuss more these subjects, as I said, when we are not too serious about them. In novels, sometimes problems are raised. There are some problem novels. Just to create some problem, to raise some problem. Social morality or individual morality, on and so on. They do these things just for pastime, to create a situation and to look at this situation or enjoy it. There is no seriousness in them. Or the writer does not know the serious responsibility of the problems he has raised. He can raise those problems much more easily because he is not too serious about the implications of those problems, nor does he care to give a positive solution. In India, in Bengal, there is a writer, novelist, very good novelist, who would always have sympathy with fallen characters. He would create certain situations and so and so. Because of the society, these persons have fallen from the path. And the society is responsible for all these things. But yet a particular knack, one would read certain of these novels of the same pattern, creating a problem and just so the society is responsible for that, and the people have fallen away from the path of righteousness and so on. There will be no serious solution because he did not think of the responsibility of giving a real solution. It was a pastime, yes, it was enjoyable. But if you are serious, you would not spend so much time on discussion. It might be you will be discussing this problem within your mind seriously, but you do not spend so much time in idle or intellectual discussion. It is said once a Buddhist monk was meditating. There came a passer-by. He sat because he saw a monk meditating there, or he was trying to talk, wanted to know what was the road to a certain place, which was his destination. Monk was silent, could not say anything. And afterwards, that man got up and started walking. And he was going in the wrong direction. Then the monk shouted, "Come in, oh hello, you are going by a wrong path. Go by the right path, that is the right path." And the man was surprised and asked him, "I was with you for such a long time. Why you did not talk, you did not reply to my answer?" And the monk said, "At that time I saw that you are not serious about going, so there was no use giving any direction. Now I find you are going." In our life also, it is not for us to discuss too much how to determine our duties, what is our duty. Just go on, develop conscientiousness, and you will find you will evolve, and you will find out what is the direction. From within you will find. You will not have to discuss. Cardinal Newman wrote a poem which has become so famous, so beautiful. "Lead kindly light amid this encircling gloom. Lead us on, the night is dark, I am far from home. Lead thou on, kiss thou my feet, I do not ask to see the distant scene, one step enough for me." The important thing is in life, one step enough for me. We need not discuss too much about the goals and destinies. If we mean business, as they say, one step enough for me. It is said, Lao Tzu gave instructions. If you are to go on a long journey, take care of one step. That is enough. One step will lead to another, and the second step will lead to third step, and thus you go on. And if we can, in our life, take care of one step, that is sufficient for all practical purposes. What is there so much discussed intellectually about duty? From the beginning of life, it is clear what is our duty. Ordinarily, it is taken for granted. The child should take care of his health, or when he is grown up, when he is little grown up, he will have certain amount of education or mental equipment. He will know how to respect others and follow the pattern of the social code and so on. He should take care of his health afterwards. He should keep his body fit, mind alert, intellectual powers alive, and go on that way. There is not much from that standpoint to discuss that way. Just to follow it, and through blunders, to trials and errors, you will find out your way. Not that there will not be problem. Perhaps I have made the problem too simple. It is not, I do not say. But if we take care of one step, the problem becomes simple. And we go on through our experiences, we decide. Through our experiences we become wiser. But not all follow the social pattern of duty. Go, be respectful to your superiors, obey them, go to school, get education, earn money, or at best do some good work to the society. It was surplus energy or surplus inclination. Some persons cannot do that. Many geniuses could not undergo the training in school. It was impossible for them to undergo that hard drilling. Tagore could not study in school. He found it impossible. There are many important persons in the world who could not undergo the drilling in school. Because they could not undergo the drilling in school or through ordinary forms of education, they had that better education. The same thing is true in life also. There are many saints who could not follow the ordinary form of duty. They were not bound by it. They could not bind themselves. Ramakrishna, such a gentle soul, he could not undergo the training in school. He was so gentle. His father was dead. His elder brother was his guardian. Elder brother wanted him to go to school, wanted to give him education. But he could not, Ramakrishna could not persuade himself to go to school. His mind was too keen for that. So what is the purpose of this education? The purpose of this education is to earn the means of livelihood. It is bread-winning education. It had no attraction for him, this bread-winning education. His impulse was in a different direction. Same thing was the case with his disciple, Swami Brahmananda. Just in his early days, he neglected the ordinary forms of duty. He left his mother, he left his younger brother in difficulty. He was the eldest brother. He had certain amount of education. or he had the capability to shine in life, to have a material success. It was his responsibility to take care of the family. But he passed through a torment of difficulties, conflict of ideas, and he did not follow the ordinary form of life. There was a great conflict. He could not persuade himself, or it was impossible for him to settle down to do the normal duty. There is a great conflict and there is a great fire within him. Afterwards, he would say, it was necessary that I should have sacrificed my mother, my brothers. Higher ideal was calling me. Perhaps he could not think that this is duty and that was duty. Just he followed, or he could not resist the call of greater ideal. And afterwards he would say, towards the end of his life, though he died young, I neglected my duties to my mother. I want to do something for her. A monk, our friend, he came from Calcutta, the city from where Swami Vivekananda came. He is our friend, and when this friend became a monk, his mother naturally was very happy. Oh, I am happy. And his mother, the mother of our friend, was saying, these people are of that type. I saw the mother of Vivekananda. She died weeping and weeping for Vivekananda. These people are of that type. Yes, in certain cases, one becomes a social rebel. Every great saint, more or less, is a rebel. Christ was a rebel. He said, those who love their father or mother more than me are not worthy of me. He said, thy spouse shall be they of thy own household. He openly said, I have come to set at variance the father against the son against the father, the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and so on. Because he was a social rebel, it cost his life, but it made him a greater power. So ordinarily we follow the ordinary course of duty. But there comes a time when there is a higher call. We set aside all these duties. But that duty is much more important. When they set aside ordinary social responsibility, worldly man will say that they are irresponsible. They are selfish. But the time indicates they were not selfish. Their whole life was a great sacrifice, a dedication to God and dedication to mankind. Because our visions are limited, we think only this should be done. We cannot see the standpoint from which they were working. But time indicated that they were right, not only right, they were a blessing to humanity. They kindled a light which was illumining thousands of hearts afterwards. Of course, in many instances, such fire does not come. But nevertheless, there is always conflict in us, more or less. The tendency or the desire for the unfoldment of our inner spirit and the compulsion to follow the social pattern, thinking in terms of social responsibility. There is the conflict more or less in all sensible persons, excepting those who simply drift in life, who do not think seriously. It is good to be able to drift in life on the will of God, but they drift on the current of circumstances. They have not the energy, they have not the alertness to think what is right or wrong. More dead than alive they are. But with any sensible person, there will be a conflict. How to develop our inner spirit and how to take care of the social responsibility. There is no doubt. Ultimately, in ultimate analysis, only duty is to know ourselves, to realize God, to find out the solution of this mystery of this life and death. Where do we come from? Where do we go? But we cannot or we do not like to think these problems too much, because these problems make us crazy, make us unfit for ordinary work. These problems make us unhappy. But if we are bold enough to think, what beauty can we have more than just to know what we are? What is the purpose of this creation? What is the purpose of this life? Delphic oracle said to Socrates, know thyself. Earlier, in the Upanishadic age, the saint said, Atmanam Vidhi, know thyself. That is the most important thing. In order to know that, or to speak in popular language, in order to know God, what social responsibilities can we have? Is not God there to think of His creation? What responsibility can I have? But at least we must know God first. Yes, if our desire to know God, if our yearning is so intense, no other responsibilities can come in importance to this. With reference to this idea, Christ said, thy foes shall be they of thy own household. We cannot stand erect with that idea that we must know the truth first. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. Know truth first, and all these things will come, and will be set free. As I said, if we can do that, there could be no higher duty. There could be no work which is more important than this. But many cannot do that. That is the difficulty. Many have not the capacity nor the tendency to think seriously on the fundamental problem of life. We think fundamental problem of life is bread, the name and fame. But you do not live by bread alone. So we just forget this fundamental problem, ordinary persons. But those who can, they are blessed, and they make others blessed. They make the society blessed. In the Vedanta literature it is said, the family in which such a soul is born is blessed. Certainly, he lights a lamp which illumines not only the family members, but the people in general. He transcends the limitation of social responsibility. What is social responsibility? Social responsibility, our obligation to persons who are around us. These people, these things, rise to a height where their love embraces the whole of humanity. They can make no distinction between a race and a race, between a country and a country. The whole world is their home. But we cannot all rise to that height at the very beginning. So there is a graduated course of education. There is a graduated course of conduct, forms of conduct also in life. So there is a social code, the sense of duty. In Indian language or in the Hindu scriptures, there is a word, dhamma, which cannot be translated into English. We may translate it as religion, but that is not the word. It is something like righteousness or duty. Follow your dhamma. Follow your right sense of righteousness. Follow your sense of duty. And when you can do that, afterwards there is self-purification. Your mind becomes more and more clean, heart becomes purer and purer. Then there comes the desire to know the highest truth. But all have not to go by the graduated course. Ordinary persons have to go by the graduated course. If you analyze the different forms of beauties in different societies, one thing is seen. The underlying idea is how to chasten our life, how to live a life of discipline or control. What is the underlying principle of law? The underlying principle is, if you become an outlaw, the society cannot go on. Control your desire, control your passion, control your ambition, so that you can live in peace and others also can live in peace. And so by following these things, these ideas, we discipline our life. To have a sense of duty means to think in terms of the welfare of others. That means discipline. That means control, self-control, mental discipline, sacrifice. First thing is to sacrifice everything for God, but because we have no definite idea about God, nor our love for God is so intense, we should do our duties. And doing our duties means practice of self-sacrifice, practice of dedication to the cause which will bring happiness to others. That is the underlying idea of all sense of duty. Otherwise, no other meaning it has. Man is to know that he is divine. All his attempts to do that. But through graduated course, we do that. And so there are some forms also what should be done. In the Upanishad which you are studying, it is said that speak the truth, follow your duty, respect your parents, consider the guest as your God, earn money and spend money in all humility. Spend that money for the happiness of others in all humility, in all reverence. So, these are the forms. Do these things. And the result will be, if you can do these things, it is a life of discipline. And afterwards, we long for spiritual goal and nothing but the spiritual goal. This is a form of training. There is a conflict there naturally. Which should be first? Spiritual liberation or the duty? Yes, spiritual liberation is first, if that is uppermost in our mind. But because that is not uppermost in our mind, follow the duty. By following the duty, you will be undergoing training in self-sacrifice. But you cannot impose the ideal on another person. An ideal for which he is not fit. In India there has been some difficulty. Swami Brahmananda saw the weakness of that tendency. Why religion should be only for monks? He said, I would bring Vedanta to the everyday life. Why should one have necessarily to go to solitude to contemplate and meditate? Is God only for few? Yes, when we do not understand or realize that each person has different temperament, each person has a different tendency. It is not the question of social responsibility, it is the question of responsibility to ourselves, how to unfold our inner life. Some persons can unfold their inner life much better doing the duty, and some persons are quite temperamentally unfit to do ordinary grinding things. There is too much spiritual fire in them. So in Vedanta or Hindu scriptures we find there is a caste system. That means that each person should try to develop his life according to his inner temperament or according to the law of his inner being. If he follows that, he is sure to reach the ultimate goal. In one of the two most important epics, Mahabharata, there is a nice story about it. There was a monk, he was meditating in solitude under a tree. And over the tree there were two birds. These birds were fighting and some leaves fell upon his head while he was meditating. He got so much enraged, looked at those birds angrily and those birds were burned to ashes. He felt delighted that he has so much power, the result of his spiritual practice. And when a monk in India has to go out begging for his food, he went out in right time for his begging, and he went to a house. The lady of the house told him, just wait. And he had to wait pretty long time. He got enraged that I had to wait so long. And afterwards the lady came, gave him the food, and he could see that he was enraged. And the lady said, it is not burning the birds to ashes. And that man was very much perturbed. That how could he know that he did that, burned the two birds? And he became humble and asked her, how could she know that? How could she develop that power? She had not gone to solitude for meditation. And she said that I have not meditated, but I have been doing my duty. My husband is ill, and I take care of him. I was busy attending to his needs, and so you have to wait. That is my only work, only spiritual practice. And the monk came to his sense that it could be done simply by doing the duty, but something more. And the monk wanted to know something more about spiritual life. And the lady said, if you want to know anything further, go to a butcher's chain. And he gave him the address of the butcher's chain, queer word. A butcher, and he had become a saint. And the monk went to him, and the butcher was doing his work, selling meat, and he had to wait. And afterwards, the butcher asked him, why did you come here for, and who gave him his address? And he said, that lady. Then he said, wait. He finished his work and went home. And the monk went to his home with him, and there he told him what was the secret of his spiritual life. He said, yes, I've been born in this situation. I do my duty. I am truthful. I want to help others as much as I can. I do all this work as a form of dedication. And he said that in his past life he did something wrong. Because of that he was born in this situation. But he did not fight the circumstances. He took advantage of the circumstances. He was doing his duty. And because of that, he had this spiritual illumination. And he spoke afterwards highly sublime spiritual truth about spiritual life. And the monk came to his senses. So when we do the duty in right attitude, the performance of the duty itself will lead us to the spiritual goal. In India, there is caste system, you think. Yes, in the beginning it was not so rigid and it was not bad. But belonging to whatever caste one might be, the idea was, by doing the caste duty, one would be able to realize the highest goal of life. What more do you want? We want to reach the goal of life. And there are many instances that a person, by simply following the duty of the family or the caste in which he was born, realized the highest goal. the difficulty arises when the caste system becomes rigid. The idea behind is that we must follow our own temperament. Naturally, when you are born in a family, to a certain extent, we partake of the influence of the family or the society in which we are born. The idea is one must follow one's temperament, the law of one's inner being, and thereby we shall decide what is our duty. But to give some general ideas, the general principle is only duty in life to try to realize God or to have self-realization. And for that, you have to do the ordinary duties as a form of self-sacrifice, as a form of self-dedication. Thereby we become fit for higher spiritual life, or thereby we intensify our yearning for the realization of the highest truth. As it is, even if we talk of God, we do not take it seriously. We do not talk of God seriously enough. Even if we talk, we have not the yearning to realize God. It is due to the fact that we have not performed all our duties, and thereby we have not the self-purification. So those who are ready, let them think of God and God alone. For others, let them do their duty. And the principle underlying the duty is just how to have or how to develop the spirit of self-sacrifice. From that principle, if there is a conflict at any time, if there comes a state when you are in indecision, the only criterion is, does it mean sacrifice of my own interest? Or does it mean inflating my own ego? That is the only criterion, how to develop self-sacrifice. And dealing with people, when we come into indecision, when you come into conflict, only the criterion, only the standard would be, would it feed my ego or would it humble my ego? Take that step which will lessen your ego. Take that step which will help you to develop a little more spirit of self-sacrifice. That is the general principle. If we follow that principle, we shall be always right. We shall be always right. Even if you are wrong, but that will not be really wrong from the standpoint of spiritual life. It is said good work is not good unless that work is dedicated to God. Even a good work will be bad if it is not dedicated to God, because it will not lead to a up towards God. And even a work which is wrong, which you have done because you had not the right idea, in spite of yourself, you did something wrong, but that work will have no evil effect on you because you did it unknowingly, but all the while you did it as a form of dedication, as a form of worship to God. The Gita says, every work has two sides, good and bad. So there is intellectual discussion. Even the work which is known to be good, we want to find flaws in that work. The Gita openly says, as in fire there will be smoke, not in electric light. As in ordinary fire there will be smoke. In the same way, all good work will be mixed up with evil influences, evil aspects too. You cannot separate. Only thing you can do all work according to best light, and all work should be dedicated to God. That way, you will be lifted up spiritually. What more you want? The beauty is a burning sun, as Swami Vivekananda said, when you take as a form of bondage. But the beauty is a step so that you can rise higher and enjoy the freedom of spiritual life. Duty is not a form of compulsion. We have no responsibility, social responsibility. Only responsibility to God, and only responsibility we have. We are born here for to know what we are. And the sense of duty comes from that respect, because it is a gymnasium, it is a training ground. Through that training ground we rise higher, and rise higher and higher till we see the light of illumination. That is our life.